What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Cloud Slayer channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to another ramble here. I hope everybody had a great Easter Sunday. Had a great time with some wonderful food, hopefully. If not, and you don't celebrate Easter, then hopefully you just had a good day, right? A good weekend overall, stuff like that. So, but, excuse me, there's been a lot of things that I see online, like friends and things like that, as usual, they're having a hard time, right? They're having a difficult time staying away from, bad things, drugs, alcohol, is getting in and out of jail or even prison with some people, right? Because we all know life is pretty difficult. Life is tough, and it's difficult to stay doing good things that keep you out of trouble, that keep you away from causing mischief or going to jail, hurting other people, hurting yourself, hurting those that you care about around you. And it's always a challenge, right? I think I speak for a mass majority of people that that might not get into anything bad, but you have family members that do, or even if you did at one point and you don't anymore, right? And you understand the challenges that go with that, and and you know that sometimes those things call to you. Those things, almost any opportunity. You give it any opportunity, it'll be right there. Like, come on, let's do this, there's one more time or whatever the case may be. And even though it might hurt you, mentally, physically, or hurt those around you or hurt other people, whatever, you still, you might entertain the notion to do it, but for other people, you don't do that, right? You don't give into those intrusive thoughts, into, regressing possibly back to something like that, right? You decided to make a change. You decided that those things aren't for you, or you're just saying that so far, right? That's what you've declared. It's always the most difficult when you declare the things, right? Because now you got to think about it all the time. You're like, okay, I said I'm going to do this. I'm going to set out and do this thing, And sometimes it's tough to keep going with it, though, and being honest with yourself, and continue on that road that you set for yourself, or for those set of goals. And it's understandable, and sometimes you don't always get the support that you think that you need from other people, right? You might relapse or something like that. People give you shit and be like, hey man, like there's always next week, there's always tomorrow, there's always whatever, or oh, he's just saying that he's trying again, or she, or whatever, right? And at least you're trying. That's what I'd say. But it's anybody that's ever quit something or tried to quit things, they understand how hard it is. They understand how difficult it is. And sometimes when people make fun of you that that you hang out with or whatever, and they're doing that stuff, maybe they tried. Maybe they know how hard it is, but maybe they couldn't do it, and that's why they laugh at others. That's why they make fun of other people, right? That's a possibility. Or they just think you're never going to stop doing those things. You're never going to put that down in your life. I talk about it a lot. I was a young 20-something-year-old, right? And I had some pretty good friends, and I talked about quitting drinking alcohol. And there's I had already been drinking for a few years, quite, for not super heavily, but more than I should have been doing, right? From when I was 18 to 21, I was going to the bar, like I made mention of, and it's not a secret, right? And because the bartenders knew me, they'd come to the deli at night, and they knew me. So they didn't know how old I was. They just knew me. I looked about the same as I do now. Everybody I see from then, they're like, "You look the same." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, I guess," except for my receding hairline. But you know, it could be a challenge, and I had people that I care for and love, and I still talk to some of them, and you know, they'd be there to give me shit whenever when I talk about it, and I'd fail. Right, I was 21 years old, and talk about quitting already, and most people don't. Some people don't start till then, but it is what it is. I knew that I wasn't getting anywhere. I knew I was spending my money up on all that stuff. Right, paychecks come. First place I'd go, liquor store. I fill up my gas tank first, of course, fill that up, and then I planned out how much booze I could buy. I bought a certain amount of booze that I knew would last me, and got a little bit of food. Before I thought about alcohol, when I was a little bit younger, when it wasn't as bad, or where I didn't feel like, I needed to get the booze before anything else, I would get food. I was always cooking and stuff like that at a young age. And, then as I got a little bit older, as I started indulging more into drinking and hanging out with people that's all they did was drink, right? That they would rather drink than eat or do any of that other stuff, that I found myself doing less and less of cooking and less of taking care of myself, from any perspective, spiritually, physically, all these things. I was neglecting myself, right? I didn't want to continue my education, anything like that. I didn't, if anything, I went to work, I came home, and I was drinking usually. Always, starting to drink and stuff like that. And sometimes, I'd be drinking till the next morning, and it's an hour before work, and I'm like, dang, man, just finish that out, the booze off. And then I was like, I'm gonna try to get some sleep, get a half hour sleep to get up to go to work. There's times like that, and and like I said, I was feeling defeated because, sometimes when people tell you you can't, or they doubt you, it gets to you, right? It can, and it can feel kind of crappy, you know what I mean? But you shouldn't let that deter you. You shouldn't let that even matter, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes those people have tried and they failed, and they seen that they couldn't do it, so that's why sometimes they're just giving you crap. They don't really mean it, they're just saying that. Maybe sometimes it's a reverse psychology where it's like, I tell them that, and maybe it motivates them. And, some people it works, some other people it doesn't. Some other people, they want support and things like that, but they just, they look at the world differently. Everybody looks at the world differently. Everybody's unique, and stuff like that. So, it's going to be tough, and sometimes you might not be able to find the proper support system that you're looking for, or maybe you haven't tried. So it's out there. It's just that you have to be more proactive in looking for these things, right? It's not an easy thing to try to change the way you think for some people, a lot of people, most people. And, it's way easier said than done. I'll always say that. You'll always hear me say that. And, but you can do it. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. It's just a matter of figuring out ways to keep your mind from that. Keep yourself busy doing other things, and where you prioritize doing those things, instead of whatever it is that you were doing, right? Or else you're just going insane at that point, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different. but you keep doing it. So you're definitely going insane, right? You drive yourself crazy. Some people, they hurt themselves, they hurt others around them. You know, I don't know about anybody else, but when I drink heavily, I'd really do a bunch of stupid stuff, really dumb stuff, right? And it would be stuff that I wouldn't do normally, right? And when I quit that stuff, quit the booze, quit all that stuff, you know, I locked away that person inside. You know, I became more timid, more shy, and you know, I wasn't as socially extroverted as as I was at one point. I wasn't as good at making conversations and stuff like that. But you know, you don't use that as an excuse to do other things. You know, do other drugs or something. You know, weed or any of that stuff. But it is what it is. You know, those are things you realize and then you try to fix. You know, and it's like any other challenge in life, any other thing you want to change in life. It's going to be difficult. Change is always difficult, but gosh darn it, when the change is done and said and it's happened, it feels freaking awesome. If it's one of the best feelings in the world, right? You give yourself a taste of that and remember how that feels, right? Because in a way, that becomes some people's drugs, right? And that becomes their high in life, is making those changes and how that feels to them. You know, I'm still learning. We're all learning. And I'm getting older, but you know, you're never too old to learn something new because this world's always changing. So you always got to remember that. I hope you guys have a great one. I hope you guys make any changes that you set out to change. I hope you do something fun or crazy for a first time. Holy crap, excuse me. But whatever it is, I hope you're safe about it. I hope you're smart about it. And I hope it keeps you in the right state of mind and believing in yourself and those around you, creating good memories with your family, your loved ones, and all those people. So live life to the fullest that you can now and don't regret it later. Have a great one, guys. Peace.